Hello friends, welcome to my complete Raiden Shogun guide. As you all know, Raiden Shogun or the Electro Archon will be having a rerun in the second half of patch 2.5. Maybe you want to experience the power of the Musono Hitotachi, or maybe you've played through a story quest and were incredibly touched by her backstory. Either way, if you've clicked on this video, you're probably interested in pulling her from the banner or building her in some way. And if that's the case, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'll be going through her abilities, playstyles, artifact weapon choices, and team compositions in detail. At the end, I'll do a quick Abyss showcase, then list out her pros and cons so that it can help you determine if she's for you and whether you should pull for her or not. And in case you're wondering, yes, this is my real voice. Using text-to-speech is too much of a hassle, so I'll just be talking to you today. Let's first start off with Raiden Shogun's ability and playstyles. Starting off with her normal attack, named Origin. It has absolutely gorgeous animation, especially the charged attack, which forms a crescent right in front of her. Unfortunately, it is also the least impactful part of her kit. This is because Raiden Shogun's burst has its own multipliers, meaning after you press R, none of these numbers will matter anymore. So, to conserve resources such as Mora and talent bugs, I would recommend to not go too ham on upgrading her normal attack. Next up is her elemental skill, Transcendence Baleful Omen. Raiden Shogun will deal AoE electro damage in front of her and grant all party members the Eye of Stormy Judgment. It will launch a coordinated attack whenever your active characters deal damage to opponents, and it also generates some electro particles, though it's rather insignificant. While this ability itself does not do much damage. As you can see, even at level 10, the coordinated attack only scaled with 75.6% of her attack. The true value of the skill lies within its ability to buff your entire party's elemental bursts based on how much energy they spend. The more they spend, the higher the bonus. So what does this all mean exactly? Well, take examples such as Xiangling, Xingqiu, or Beidou, which have 80 cost bursts. They will be receiving a 24% elemental burst damage bonus increase, which is equivalent to having a Noblesse Oblige artifact 2-piece bonus. As for 60 cost burst characters, they will be receiving an 18% burst damage bonus instead, and for 40 cost bursts, 12%. This means that characters such as Chongyun, Diluc, or Zhongli won't be getting too much value out of this skill, while Yaemiko, Eula, Xiangling, and Xingqiu will significantly benefit from it due to their heavy burst energy cost. This is an important factor to be taken into account when doing a team building around Raiden Shogun, which we'll be discussing later on. To show you just how significant this buff truly is, I'll show you a damage difference of Xingqiu's rain swords with and without the Eye of Stormy Judgment.
Rain outlines your fate.
When Raiden Shogun's elemental skill is not activated, we're hitting for 5500 per sword. And now, let's do it with Raiden Shogun's skill activated.
Let me weave you a verse.
When Raiden Shogun's skill is activated, we're hitting for 6100 per sword, compared to the previous 5500. This is a solid 11% increase in overall damage. Now imagine everyone in the party is buffed by this skill. The amount of value you're getting out of this ability is absolutely amazing. It is also worth mentioning that Raiden Shogun's own burst is also buffed by the Eye of Stormy Judgment. Next up is Raiden Shogun's elemental burst, Muso Shinsetsu. This is the most important part of her kit and is the reason why she's so unique, in the sense that no other character in the game that does what she does. When you press R, Raiden Shogun will slash across the entire screen with her Musono Hitotachi, which deals massive AoE electro damage. For 7 seconds afterwards, all her normal, charged, and plunge attack will be infused with electro and cannot be overwritten by any other elements. So, for those C6 Bennett owners out there, you don't have to worry about her suddenly starting to pyro damage for no reason. While in burst state, Raiden Shogun's attacks will restore energy for all your party members, up to 5 times throughout the duration. She will also get interruption resistance, and immunity to electro charge reactions. The energy restoration from this ability is very significant. This is due to her 4th Ascension passive, Enlightened One, which offers her bonus energy restoration for every percentage of energy recharge over the 100% base value. Let's say our Raiden Shogun has 250% energy recharge. This may seem like a lot, but don't you worry, I'll explain later on how you can easily achieve this value. This is pretty much the bare minimum. With 250% recharge, she'll be restoring up to 23.75 energy for all of your party members. This refills a third of Xiangling's or Xingqiu's bursts, which is absolutely phenomenal. It allows you to run lower energy recharge on all of your sub DPS characters and focus more on crit stats, which in turn give you a higher overall team damage. This also allows for ultra smooth rotations, since you know for a fact that those bursts will be coming back up before their internal cooldown has even ended. We've talked so much about the supportive side of Raiden Shogun's kit. Maybe it's time for the team members to give back something to her. Whenever a character in your party uses their elemental burst, Raiden Shogun will gain some resolve stacks. This amount is based on energy cost of the burst. Similar to her elemental skill works, the higher the cost of burst is, the more resolve stacks she will gain. When you fully stack the chakra, which is indicated by the glowing ring around your active character, it means you're ready to unleash a burst at its full potential. The maximum stack, which is 60, will grant Raiden Shogun 420% damage bonus on the initial slash and 78.4 bonus on all subsequent attacks, assuming skill level 10. This is the reason why Raiden Shogun does so much damage, because the sheer amount of multipliers that she's getting, meaning attack buffs such as Bennett's and Kujo's Ceres Burst are especially potent on her. This will be an important factor when we discuss team building for her later on in the video. With Raiden Shogun's kit established, let's now talk about her playstyle. Raiden Shogun fills the role of a universal battery / burst DPS in a team. However, can also be played as a hybrid carry if you choose to build a team around her. But regardless which role you want her to fill, the way you play her doesn't really change that much. At the beginning of the combat, you will want to cast her elemental skill. This provides the entire team with bonus elemental burst damage. Next up, you want to switch her off and cast each and every one of the other characters' bursts. This will help build up Raiden Shogun's resolve stacks, making her burst especially powerful. During this state, keep autoing and regenerates energy for your entire party. Switch them back and rinse and repeat. Thus the cycle begins. Infinite energy, infinite bursts, and this is why she's considered as the universal battery. Here is a quick demo of how the rotation looks like.
Everybody stand back! Nice and spicy! Eat this! Witness the power of Fuhua! Know my sword! Inazuma shines eternal!
You can see, after using Raiden Shogun's burst, Bennett's burst is ready to go again. As for Xiangling and Xingqiu, theirs haven't even come off cooldown yet, and already completely filled. Now we can simply cast Eren's burst once again. This builds up Raiden Shogun's resolve stacks, and once unleashed, you will be able to charge energy for party members all over again. Thus, the cycle never ends. With Raiden Shogun being the universal battery, you no longer have to awkwardly keep Eing with Bennett to try and get Xiangling's Pyronado back, nor do you have the need to run Sacrificial Sword on Xingqiu anymore. You can instead run a weapon that uses attack percentage or crit as secondary stats, which provide them with way more damage. I'll talk about some of the specialized build you can do in the team comp section of the video. Let's now talk about Raiden Shogun's artifact choices. To be perfectly honest, Emblem of Severed Fate 4-piece is the only good option here. Everything else is significantly inferior compared to it. Assuming our Raiden Shogun has 250% energy recharge. Again, I'll explain later on how I can easily achieve this value. Emblem of Severed Fate will convert this into 62.5% elemental burst damage, which is absolutely massive. If we compare this to something like a 2-piece Noblesse Oblige plus a 2-piece Thundering Fury, which only offers a 35% bonus to your burst. I know farming artifacts can be a pain, but if you want to bring out the best of your Raiden Shogun, Emblem 4-piece is the only way to go. Next up, let's talk about what artifact main stats you will want to run on Raiden Shogun. First and foremost is the sense. I see a lot of discussions in the community regarding which one is better, attack percentage or energy recharge. The reason people say attack percentage is better claims that if you go with ER Sent, you'll be losing out on tons of damage. I can tell you right now that this is fundamentally incorrect. The margin of difference between the two are extremely small. Depending on your team comps and weapon choices, it can range from 10% more damage to almost negligible differences. The only good thing about attack percentage is that it does slightly more damage. So what does ER Sense bring to the table? As I've explained earlier in the skill section of the video, Raiden Shogun's 4th Ascension passive Enlightened one makes that for every percentage of energy recharge that is over the base 100, she will gain bonus energy restoration for your team and more electro damage bonus. What's more, energy recharge sense also scales with Emblem of Severed Fate artifact set, and this is the reason why she doesn't actually lose out much on damage when using an ER sense compared to an attack percentage one. Since Raiden Shogun's main role in the party is being the universal battery, having the ability to restore more energy for your party members is invaluable. Making her do slightly a bit more damage is absolutely not worth it if you're sacrificing the utility aspect of her kit. So please, make sure to put on an energy recharge sense regardless what your weapon's secondary stats is. It's way better for your entire team, and she doesn't even lose out much on personal damage. Something else to add on is that Raiden Shogun's burst costs a whopping 90 energy, so if you try to run her on low ER, it is extremely unpleasant and feels very clunky to play. Up next is the Goblet position. Depending on the team comps and your weapon's secondary stats, it can either be electro damage bonus or attack percentage. To make it simple for you to determine which one to use, you can follow these rules. If you're using attack buffers such as Bennett or Kujusera in your party, always use the electro damage bonus goblet regardless of what secondary stats your weapon has. However, if you're not running an attack buffer, then for a weapon with attack percentage as secondary stats, please use the electro damage goblet. It will net you more damage. As for a weapon that has energy recharge, crit rate, or crit damage as secondary stats, using an attack percentage one is slightly better. Last but not the least is the circlet position. You can go with either crit rate or crit damage depending on your ratio. For maximum DPS output, 1 crit rate to 2 crit damage will offer you the best results. As for artifact secondary stats, it's simple and straightforward. Crit stats takes the highest priority, then energy recharge, and finally attack percentage. Anything else is not so great. Next up, let's talk about weapon choices for Raiden Shogun. But before I start, I just want to clarify a specific concept I'll be mentioning in this section of the video, and that is overall DPS potential. It refers to the average damage your character will be outputting over time, which means crit rate will be factored into the equation. For example, Staff of Homa will produce higher damage numbers. However, when we factor in the 12% crit rate offered by the catch's passive, Homa will actually have a lower overall DPS potential despite the damage number looking bigger when critting. Alright, let's move on to the weapon ranking. Without a doubt, Engulfing Lightning is the best option for her. It provides Raiden Shogun with additional attack percentage based on how much ER she has, and adds a bonus 30% energy recharge whenever she uses her bursts. This will be further converted into bonus energy restoration and electro damage bonus. It's her signature weapon, so it's not exactly surprising that it works so well on her. Next up is the catch. This weapon is permanently available from the Inazuma Fishing Association, and is in my personal opinion one of the most broken free-to-play weapons MiHoYo has ever given to us. With this weapon, you can easily achieve 250% energy recharge with Raiden Shogun, which is essential in consistently getting your burst back and providing party members with sufficient energy. The catch offers 45.9% ER at level 90. Raiden Shogun gets 32% ER from her Ascension passive. Emblem of Severed Fate 2-piece gives 20% ER, and finally, the ER sense itself gives 51.8%. Summing it all up, with the base 100 value, and we get a total of 250% energy recharge. This is assuming you did not get any ER subsets from your artifacts, which in most cases is very unlikely. It is entirely possible to have something like 280% ER on your Raiden Shogun when the build is completed. The catch's passive is literally tailor-made for Raiden Shogun. It provides her with 32% additional elemental burst damage and 12% crit rate on her burst. In case your artifact crit stats are not that good, this 12% can help you a great deal in achieving a more balanced 1-2 ratio. The burst damage bonus also scales incredibly well with attack buffers. In fact, it is so amazingly good that the catch at Refinement 5 has higher overall DPS potential than any of the 5-star polearms, except Engulfing Lightning and Staff of Homa when the user is below 50% HP. Though unlike Shell or Hu Tao, Raiden Shogun does not have a reliable way to fall below 50% HP, thus it is not practical to compare them by any means. Coming up next is Skyward Spine. This weapon, when it comes to performance, is only about 2 to 3% worse than the catch. Both of these weapons have energy recharge as secondary stats, and provides their character with additional crit rate. The catch offers 32% elemental burst damage, while Skyward Spine gives 12% normal attack speed. The overall damage calculation shows that there is no distinctive difference between the two weapons. You can use either of them on Raiden Shogun. So in case you've put the catch on Xiangling, you can instead use Skyward Spine on Shogun if you have it. Coming up next is Wavebreaker's Fin, specifically at Refinement 3 or above. At R3, this weapon will outdamage the catch when it comes to overall DPS. This is because of its passive increases the user's elemental burst damage by the party's combined maximum energy capacity. Since Raiden Shogun's main role is to help charge party members' bursts, and the resolve stat gain is based on how much energy teammates expend, you obviously want a team filled with high costing bursts. Take an example of this team composition, which consists of Raiden Shogun, Xingqiu, Bennett, and Xiangling. The combined energy cost is 310, which according to Wavebreaker's Fin's passive, it offers Raiden Shogun 37.2% elemental burst damage. And at Refinement 3, the bonus becomes 55.8%. Even though this weapon at R3 outdamages both the catch and Skyward Spine, I only put it in the third place. The reason for this is because having attack percentage as secondary stats instead of energy recharge, Raiden Shogun will be restoring less energy for all of your party members. In my opinion, sacrificing utility for some extra damage is not worth it. However, the difference is noticeable enough that if you want to give it a try, you might just prefer it more. Next coming up is not a specific weapon, but rather a category of weapons. This includes Staff of Homa, Primordial Jadewing Spear, Vortex Vanquisher, the Calamity Queller, Lithic Spear, Deathmatch, Blackcliff Pole, and the Royal Spear. All of these are DPS polearms, which either uses attack percentage or crit as secondary stats. When an attack buffer is included in the party, none of these weapons will match the overall DPS potential of the catch. What's more, they also do not have energy recharge secondary stats, which means Raiden Shogun will be restoring less energy for all of your party members. Personally, I wouldn't recommend you to go with any of these weapons, unless none of the previous 4 weapons are available for you. For the final category, we have Favonius Lens and Prototype Star Glitter. I don't exactly recommend either of these, simply because you're losing a bit too much of Raiden Shogun's personal damage. Though it is worth noting that since both of these weapons have energy recharge as their secondary stats, the utility aspect of the Raiden Shogun's kit is not compromised. She'll be restoring much more energy for your party members when compared to the previous DPS polearm category. And in case you're wondering, Favonius Lens is much superior than Prototype Star Glitter. The Windfall passive is very nice for getting everyone in the party some extra particles, which further boosts Raiden Shogun's supportive kit. As for Prototype Star Glitter, the Magic Affinity passive is completely useless, since after you press R, all of Raiden Shogun's damage is considered as elemental burst damage and not normal or charged attack damage. With weapon choices out of the way, let's now discuss Raiden Shogun's team comps. The first one is Raiden National, or as the community calls it, Rational. This is probably the most sought after Raiden team comps, and for good reasons. First of all, it only requires 4-star characters, and all of them were released back in version 1.0, which means the majority of the player base should have all 3 of them. Next up is the amazing synergy this team comp offers. Bennett can snapshot attack buff onto Xiangling's Pyronado, while Raiden can stand in it for the entire duration, which is absolutely amazing with their ridiculous multipliers. With Xingqiu in the party, and electro charged reactions allowing both Hydro and Electro status to be applied on opponents in the same time, you can guarantee every single spin of Xiangling's Pyronado will vaporize. This is also the only Raiden team composition that allows 3 DPS characters to output damage in the same time, that being Raiden Shogun on-field and Xiangling Xingqiu off-field. With this, no opponent will be able to stand in front of your team for more than a few seconds. As I've mentioned previously, Raiden Shogun restores a good amount of energy for all of your party members. This means Xingqiu no longer has the need to run Sacrificial Sword and can instead go with a DPS weapon. My favorite option is Lion's Roar, which can maintain its passive at 100% uptime due to Raiden Shogun's rapid electro application. At Refinement 3, Lion's Roar outdamages both the Jade Cutter and Mist Splitter Reforged. I'll be using this weapon in all of the upcoming showcases, so definitely look out for it if you're interested in its performance. I've also made a video regarding this specialized build, and I'll link it in the description section of the video. There's a slight variation to this team comp, and that is to replace Xiangling with Jean. Let's say you're in the Abyss, and you need Xiangling on the other half for a Melt Ganyu or Child National team. Then this Jean variation can help you free up Xiangling. The reason why this variation works so well is because Jean and Bennett has one of the coolest interaction in the game, known as Sunfire. As long as you're standing in both Bennett's Fantastic Voyage and Jean's Dandelion Field, Pyro Swirl would consistently happen around your active character, with Sugar's Vaporize with Xingqiu's Rain Sword and Overload with Raiden's Electro application. Against single targets, such as boss type enemies, this variation is nowhere near as strong as the Xiangling one. However, when there are multiple enemies present, it has very comparable performances. The way you want to build Jean in this team comp is going with 4-piece Viridescent Veneer and triple Elemental Mastery for your artifact main stats, since she will be the one who triggers the majority of the reactions. As for weapon, Iron Sting and Freedom Sworn give you the most damage. However, Favonia's Sword can be a better choice if you're lacking in energy. The next team comp is Raiden Hyper Carry. As the name suggests, the entire purpose of this team is to buff up Raiden Shogun so she can do as much damage as possible. We included double attack buffers, Bennett and Kujo Sarah, with Kazuha offering resistance shred and additional electro damage bonus. If you want Raiden Shogun herself to hit mind-boggling numbers, this is the team for you. However, there's one slight drawback to this team comp, and that is the entirety of damage condition is dependent on Raiden Shogun herself. So in case she's not that well invested and your artifacts aren't that good yet, the results might be kinda underwhelming. So if that's the case, you can instead take some load off Raiden Shogun and add in an Electro sub DPS. You can replace Kujo Sarah with either Yaimiko or Fischl, depending on whichever one you prefer. And if you choose to go with Yaimiko, you can also switch out Kazuha for Sucrose due to her Elemental Mastery scaling. And finally, we have a team comp centered on Eula, with Raiden Shogun acting as a permanent superconduct enabler. As many of you might know, Eula has a pretty serious energy recharge issue. The 80 cost burst is incredibly powerful, but takes a very long time to charge without a good battery, since she doesn't exactly want to run energy recharge. Raiden Shogun is one of the best fixes for this problem, since she's considered as a universal battery. What's more, Raiden's elemental skill has 100% uptime, meaning unlike Fischl's Oz, you don't have to switch back to her to cast skill and re-enable superconductor reaction. As long as Eula is consistently autoing, Electro status will be continuously applied onto your opponents. To make the energy gain even smoother, I recommend another cryo character. Shenhe, Rosaria, Kaya, Diona are all solid options here. For the last slot, an attack buffer will further amplify this team's power, either Bennett or Kujo Sarah. Alright, with the team comp section of the video out of the way, let's get into a quick Abyss Floor 12 showcase. And here is my Raiden Shogun build.
Illusion shattered. Wind power. Red outlines with paint.
We have finally reached the conclusion of the video, so let's now list out the pros and cons of Raiden Shogun. She's a universal battery, which means regardless whichever element your party members belong to, she will be restoring equal amount of energy for all of them. She also enables off-meta builds such as Lion Sword Xingqiu, which has significantly higher damage output than the traditional sacrificial sword build. Her elemental skill provides team-wide elemental burst buff, which is equivalent to a free Noblesse Oblige 2-piece bonus for most characters. Her burst has incredibly high multipliers. With attack buffers, she has the potential to dish out immense amount of damage. Catch is one of her best installed weapons, which is permanently available and free Refinement 5. She provides very consistent electro application, which permanently enables Superconduct for physical comps and Electrocharged for Taser. The entire utility part of the kit is unlocked at Constellation 0, which makes her extremely free-to-play friendly. So what are some of the cons of Raiden Shogun? In a team comps where member doesn't depend on their burst to do damage, her energy restoration won't provide much value. Her burst provides very high electro application. This might not be ideal if you're trying to trigger other reactions. Her burst is considered as elemental burst damage, which means she has negative synergy with Beidou or the Electro Traveler, resulting in awkward rotations. So, should you pull for Raiden Shogun? Well, after watching this extended guide, I'll be leaving this decision in your own capable hands. At the end of the day, your Primo, your choice. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section, and I'll do my absolute best to answer them. Good luck on your polls, and I'll see you in the next video.